Hello, comic fans. Today I have the great honor to talk to the founder and editor of the Latvian mini publisher Kush, David Schilter. And Mini is a very apt handle for Kush since it is a rather small outfit at the edge of the civilized world, I'd like to say, I'm afraid to say. And the comics you're producing are for the most part mini in size, even if their importance as vehicles of comic art is quite big. In my opinion, and has grown over the last 17 years of the existence of Kush. Welcome, David Schilter. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me here. Thanks for the introduction.
I'd like to ask you a personal question first, if you don't mind. You were born in Switzerland. How did you come to Latvia?
Yeah, that's the good question. Kind of randomly, but not randomly. Well, it was like, it started with a student exchange in Lithuania in 2005. And then I had a Latvian girlfriend, which I met there. And I decided after I moved to Latvia, I went back to Switzerland, finished like my studies, which were almost finished. And then, yeah, like this, I ended up in Latvia. Which was, I somehow, it's not that I don't like Switzerland, but I always somehow was thinking about moving and like, then yeah, somehow more or less randomly happened to be Latvia, which is in the north of Switzerland. I kind of like the north, so that's good.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about the beginnings of Kush.
Yeah, so the very beginning, yeah, we started in 2007 there with Sani Sajančkauska at this moment. And the very beginning, well, yeah, first I came to Latvia and I kind of didn't really have an idea what I should do in Latvia. But this son knew that I'm really into comics and like suggested we should start a comic magazine. Before in Switzerland, I was like involved at the Fumetto International Comic Festival as a volunteer. So I've attended this festival there for more than 10 years already and had like connections somehow a bit to the comic scene, like just as a fan, not as a, well, or as a Fumetto volunteer. So there I had like kind of like my comics education basically was from Fumetto and the Swiss-German magazine Strapazin, which kind of also was a big inspiration for the first Kush magazine. And then, but the first year we started with a Latvian magazine. We published like comics, like also like, well, like a magazine with different short comics to a theme, but in Latvian. And we got it distributed all over Latvia and the kiosks, which was quite nice. But they decided after a year they didn't want to distribute anymore. And basically we stopped the Kush endeavor, but shortly after we restarted doing it in English, as we had like some like very small funding for a different project. From an EU project, they could like make some publication for, they were like cleaning forests in Lithuania, some Latvians, Lithuanians, and some maybe Portuguese and Romanian youngsters. As there's like this Youth in Action project, and they were like, okay, you could make like a publication of this, and then we came to our really small format and made like this really small publication in English. And it was called The Green Issue, which was the first like issue. And then, yeah, we started distributing this in like internationally. First, actually in Berlin, we had like we were like asking friends who were traveling, like if they could take some books in their bag and bring to some bookshops. And so the first like international bookshops were in Berlin. I think maybe Neuro Titana or Renate or both of them. So these were like the first international distributors. So that's like the very beginning, 17 years ago.
How do you think, how big was your impact in Latvia locally? I mean, we come to the worldwide aspect of it, but
yeah, it's a good question, because when we started with the very first issue, we didn't have like any Latvian comic artists. We invited like a lot of international artists. Also, like in the beginning, we mainly translated like some short comics which already existed. And later, like artists were saying like, yeah, they want to make new comics. But the impact then, yeah, the very first 2 issues we distributed for free. We had the edition of 8,000. Because my co-editor thought 10,000 is too much. So we distributed like 8,000 issues all over Riga, basically, in many different cultural spaces. And like immediately we were like quite well known, like in this like art scene, as we had like this big edition and everyone had access. And then also quite fast we could motivate people to draw comics. We like through friends of the Art Academy, they were like recommending some other people, which they said like, oh yeah, I heard like she's like trying to do comics, or and like yeah, the impact in the beginning was quite kind of big, that people knew about comics, like which they before didn't know there was no comics in Latvia. It motivated a lot of people to draw. Then when we changed to English, like our distribution in Latvia was like much smaller. So at the moment, I think we're not that well known in Latvia anymore, but like in the artist circles, like yeah, they still know about us, and we have like yeah, many like people drawing comics now. And also there's a guess wider impact on the illustration scene. Like a lot of people which we published first got picked up by other companies or like book publishers, and they're asked to illustrate children books. And also like some of the first artists which we published, they started working at the Art Academy, and they're giving courses now in like illustration at the Art Academy, and they sometimes also invite international comic artists. And yeah, like 17 years ago when we started, there was no like illustration course at the Academy. And I think in some way we probably influenced that, and there's like quite a big illustration scene now. And in like recent years, like this children book publisher got like many awards in like Bologna, the biggest like children book market, and they get translations all over the world. So like it's yeah, kind of hard to say what is our impact like in the scene, but in some way it's quite big impact. Also sometimes if like some local artists have some interview internationally and they're asked why you draw comics, then they usually say, yeah, because of Kush, which is funny. And usually most of them sadly still only draw comics like when I invite them. Some are like working on bigger projects on their own, but like many artists, they like keep making like mainly short stories once in a while, when basically when they're invited by Kush.
Yeah, it almost sounds like the artists come to you rather than the opposite. I wanted to ask you how do you choose the artists, but it seems that you have built quite a network of artists that provide you with all these short comics because you have an immense roster of different artists that some are not well known in the meantime, at least in other publications, but most of them are really new talent to explore and discover. I don't know where the question is here, but yeah, how do you choose the artist, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it's really different ways actually. How we approach the artists or they approach us. Also, like different concepts for different issues. So I guess it's really mixed. Like I'm following a ton of artists online, and I go like to very many comic festivals where I like discover new artists, or like yeah, with newcomer artists, like with Latvian artists, it's often like that I invite them because I see they have some potential to do comics, so I would like invite them and try to motivate. So with international artists, I of course look for artists who already make comics, and yeah, my goal is kind of to promote comics in Latvia in a way also. So there we do also a lot of workshops in Latvia, and there I see like it's a good way for me to discover local artists when they take part in the workshop and make like great works. But yeah, with international artists, yeah, some people also contact us on Instagram or somewhere and say, I really would like to make a comic. But yeah, for each issue it's different. Usually we first think like of a theme for an issue, and then think about like, yeah, what artists could fit. And then I would like invite most of the artists directly. But once in a while we do open calls. So like everyone, like yeah, we make kind of a competition online where we say what is the theme and how many pages we're looking for. And then people from anywhere can take part and send their comics. And this is a great way again to like discover new artists, which later I would like invite directly. But so yeah, it's really mixed. Like I try also to keep up with the comic scene to see what's like going on, like what's like new talents. And you say we have mostly unknown artists, which yeah, might be true, like in a wider sense they're not so well known. It's often like up and coming artists, but I also try to have like a mix. It's like yeah, to like mix like lesser well known and more well known artists.
Yeah, I mean, this guy here, Nicolas Mahler, is obviously all over the place, at least in the German, Austrian, Switzerland region. He's some kind of minimalist guy who does this kind of stuff. And he's very funny. It's really one of my favorite mini comics, even though I never read James Joyce, to be honest. I tried some pages, but this is the abbreviation of Finnegan's Wake. If very
yeah, Nicolas Mahler read it for you. But yeah, with him was like great. I knew him now also for many years through like festivals. We've met many times, so it was like good to have like some personal connection, as he's like already so active and well known. It's probably would be harder to get him to make such a small comic.
And how do you contacted Noah Van Sciver?
This was do you know John Porcellino also?
Yeah, a spit and a half. Yeah.
So John Porcellino was our first distributor and still is distributor in the USA. So I've been in contact with him for a long time, and he was friends with Noah's like for many, many years when he was not famous yet, like before he like published any like bigger book. I think John told me, you should contact this Noah. So then actually I got in touch with him when he was not famous yet, or not so famous, just, you know, yeah, was like an up and coming young artist who did his own scenes. And, yeah, we're still in touch with Noah and still like collaborating once in a while.
Yeah, and you have some heavy hitters in terms of the independent comic scene, like Jesse Jacobs or Michael DeForge and stuff like that. And Tara Booth. I really discovered Tara Booth through, I guess, one of your anthologies, and I was blown away by her use of colors. Yeah, maybe this is a good point to give you the opportunity to talk a bit about your books in case someone has never heard about Kush. What are the books that you are publishing?
Okay, I also got some pile here to so these
I make you a bit bigger than it's maybe so.
So these are the anthologies we published, called the Anthology. These 4 are all from this year. We were quite productive. Usually we publish like 3 per year. This year we managed 4. This was our 50th issue, and it was called like Kush 50/50. And we invited like artists to do something on kind of this abstract theme of 50/50. And we like invited also half of the artists which we maybe have collaborated before already for the previous 50 issues, but I'm always bored like with like anniversary issues when people like just publish like old stories on old artists. So like for our like this 50 anniversary issue, I try to invite also a lot of new artists. And I can like try to, I'm not used to camera, so here's like, for example, Ingrida Pičukāne, which is a Latvian artist who has been collaborating with us almost since the very beginning. And here's like younger Latvian artists. Then this is from Singapore, Weng Pixin, who we've collaborated before, or Anna Sailama from Finland, Eric Kostyuk Williams from Canada. She published the first time in this issue. Some more Latvian here. Here is König Glück, that's a Swiss guy who he has one-page comic in each issue. Somehow became a tradition that we always publish one short comic by him. And then here's Juliette Colette, which you might not know yet, but she's kind of a rising star in the US. She makes really cool self-published scenes. We'll probably have soon something, some bigger publisher. She makes really interesting work, like using collage, and probably you'll hear more of her soon. Or then here we have Teddy Goldenberg from Israel, just some insight. Then here is Ona Kvashyte from Lithuania, as we call ourselves the Baltic Comics magazine. But yeah, we're like a Latvian comic magazine, but I try to involve also often like Lithuanian and Estonian artists and discover new people there. This is Daniel Lima. Martin Vsutis from Latvia. Here's Yuma Wang from China, who also made the cover. Amanda Beza from Portugal, Liva Kandevica from Latvia, and okay, that's like a small insight that you see that there's a lot of like short stories by international artists. Yeah, in this one I like invited all the people, and then this was our mindfulness issue we did this year. We had an open call. Also, I will just make like a short like. Here's a Hungarian artist, then Latvian, Estonian.
That's great.
This one is from Indonesia.
Yeah.
German artist, Latvian, Finnish. And yeah, this one was a bit a stranger issue we did this year with a guest editor who from the Netherlands, who was invited for the sculpture festival in Riga. And this book is basically an extension of her sculpture. And the theme is elastic spaces. It gets like very conceptual and artistic. And she invited like half of the artists in there are like contemporary artists of different media, like painters, and the other half is like comic artists who do like quite experimental stuff. So this is like, I think also visually very interesting issue, very mixed stuff. Here's like a Hong Kong artist. It's like working this manga style, like Tatooine.
What was with the cat there in that story? I remember that I not really understood why are they all so afraid of that cat, or maybe there's no simple explanation. It's funny, but. Yeah. I wondered if there's more to it.
Good question. Yeah, everyone has to figure it out themselves.
Yeah,
it's also like the Kush issues. There's like also often like very open to interpretation. Like there's a lot of kind of. Like also poetic stories where you can't really say what's exactly about, but it's a mix. Like we have like this more like really narrative stories, and then other stories which are like more open to interpretation, and or also more philosophical.
Yeah.
So that's like a small insight into. And also, I think this year is actually a good like overview of what we do, as this was the latest one, and that's a Czech special. Like sometimes we do like country specials. We have done a Finnish special, Portuguese special, Brooklyn special, Australian special. What else? So once in a while we have like this. Like country issues, which
and like actually, I could bet when I flip through this book here, there would be a good chance that people would guess from which country these comics were. At least this woodcut series. I mean, there's a certain Czech tradition of illustration. Yeah, this one.
Judos Valušek, he's
it's so
really famous Czech illustrator.
It's a short and absurd story. Very nice. I really did like the new anthology, like I did all before. And
the story actually was based on real facts. It's kind of almost a documentary. because they found like it's about the stork where they who has like the lost leg like cut off, and then they like 3D print the leg to like for him. It sounds like really kind of like funny, weird fairy tale, but it's based on real facts. But unfortunately, I heard in the real life story the stork died. And there's like the part about it that they like cut off the head of the guy who is responsible to kill the stork. This didn't happen in real life, but
I guess, okay, I didn't know about the stork leg, but in real, the connection between Kush and the art world in East Europe and Latvia and so on. You do more things than just publish comics, do you? You have a residency with artists that live in Riga, and how does this work?
Yes, so we do a lot of activities next to publishing, like organize exhibitions and workshops, and also this residency. The residency is quite a big project. Like over the last 4 years, we had like 77 people coming to Riga to work on their comic project. We provide them a space in Riga for a month or two in a shared flat with a photo organization. So each month we had like 3 artists there, like working on their projects, but not everything they work on is like meant for Kush. It's kind of, it's called the Kush residency, but it's slightly independent from the publishing. Some people do work on some short stories for us, but the idea of the residency is more to give the artist the space to focus on their own work, because we know like you're like at home, like you always have like a lot of responsibilities. Some people have children, or you have to like meet your friends and family and whatever, but we like to give them like a space for 1 month to concentrate like really on their work and be a bit away from their daily struggle. And also I think it's like a good inspiration to be in like a different space. You might get new ideas, kind of brings you out of your daily rhythm, and we try to connect them then also to the international art scene, as there's like more other international artists in the residency, and connect them to the Latvian scene. So it's like in a way really successful project, as we have like big networking possibilities. And also again, we discover a lot of artists through that, because it used to work like as an open call, as a competition, and we have like a lot of applications. It's like it's really hard to choose like the artist which can come here, as we have like 1 space for 10 people applying. Okay, like maybe like 10% of the people applying we can take. But through this we find like many new artists again, which we then later also try to involve in our publishing.
Maybe a short step backwards towards your books, because I usually this is just a part of the mini zines from you, and I usually arrange them alphabetically. So I just to find them in. The good thing is all the stuff fits in some shoe boxes, even if you're a Kush almost completionist, which is very nice in terms of in relation to the other books. But now I read all the mini zines from you in some weeks or so, and try to choose some of my favorites. And I plan to do some kind of video about my favorite Kush minis. And so it's no use to talk about them now. But I want to ask you, do you have some favorite books, some that are more important for you than the others? I mean, it's a stupid question, like which child is your favorite? I know, but do you have some that are more to your heart than the others, or tricky question? Maybe.
Yeah, it's a tricky question, as they're all like my babies in a way. So, yeah, it's hard like to pick one. Also, like each mini has like their own story, like how we like found the artist or how we like. So I couldn't like pick like real favorite now. Like I know you probably haven't seen them yet because we just published last week.
Nope, they haven't arrived yet.
Yes, they're officially out next week. So they're all like really different. Here's one like from a Croatian artist, which is like really wonderful.
Yeah.
Like really nice artwork. It's Apollonia Lucic, which I discovered through Street Burger magazine. We made exchange with Street Burger, and she was one of the contributing artists. Yeah. And then we have Walker Tate, who's often doing like very experimental work, not really narrative, but here he did like a fun short little story about hiking and mosquitoes. And yeah, I'm not going to show the end. And then yeah, here again we have Yuma Wang, who did the 50-50 cover, who did the comic. I think it might be drawn in what's called paint shop. No, the paintbrush.
Yeah.
Or the like
Commodore 64 art.
Yeah.
64 Commodore 64 art.
Something like that. Yeah, kind of like this pixel work, and also like a short, fun little story. And then we have Etching Room 1, which is an artistic duo from Ukraine. And it's also like a short story with like big panels with like nice artwork. And yeah, so that's kind of like the newest mix. And
yeah, looking forward.
The favorite of all the minis, like it's hard to like choose even the favorite from these four, as they're all like really unique and different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested to see what are your favorite minis.
Yeah, I want to upload this video that I still have to do at the same time when I will upload our interview, so people can watch that video and of course our talk here. Have you ever felt any regret about the sticking to this certain format? I mean, there are few exceptions to the rule with your monos when you publish some. This is one of the best things ever in comic world. But yeah, have you ever felt some kind of regret that you stick to this formula and the size format?
Not really. Now, yeah, at the moment we're publishing more of like these big ones, like yeah. So I I'm not regretting publishing them, but I get a bit scared because they take much more space. Like, yeah, I can maybe show like just a short.
Wow.
So yeah, this is like the Kush office. There's like a lot of boxes, but
Yeah.
it's like a really small room. Okay, I already have the curtains down. But yeah, there's like the boxes. And that's all our books.
Okay.
Like which, yeah.
Still
so
a lot.
like 100. So we've published 130 minis, like 60 anthologies, 15 these other books. And if they would be much bigger, I wouldn't have the space. Like this is kind of like easy to like, yeah, distribute them. Like, and when I have like the new books out, I have like enough sold that I have enough space again. But yeah, it's actually in the beginning when we started with the small format, for a moment we published like 2 like anthologies in the big format, like in like
yeah,
like,
I have one.
That's not the anthology, but and then like a lot of people, like we got a lot of feedback from people saying like, oh, they enjoy like the smaller books more. Like, yeah, some artists said like, yeah, it's nice to have like more space to but like general public enjoyed the smaller format more, and it also became kind of a signature. So people see like, oh, it's a small book, it's a Kush book, they immediately recognize. But in the beginning, it was actually also really difficult with the small format, as bookshops don't like small books. But they were like quite skeptical. They didn't want to take them. Now, like, yeah, we're more established and the bookshops know it and they're happy to distribute them. But in the beginning, it was like actually quite hard with this small format. They didn't really enjoy it. And for the printing house, it's actually also a problem. It's easier to print bigger books, like cutting them, and sometimes like it's almost cheaper to print bigger books than small ones. Actually, material cost and everything in the end, it's cheaper with the small format. So there's, for me, it's a lot of advantages also, as I'm a publisher based in Latvia, but I do the books in English. I have to distribute them all myself. Like if you're a German publisher in Germany, you usually have like 1 or 2 big local publishers, and you just give them all the books, or I don't know. I haven't talked with German publishers for a while, but I imagine that like, yeah, they don't contact each bookshop themselves. But as I have like these English books, but I'm based in Latvia, I kind of communicate with all our distributors individually and then send them the books by post. As if like, yeah, beginning when we had the Latvian books, I like, they didn't come here to the office. They went directly from the printing house to the distributor, and they took care of the hard work of distributing. So for the situation Kush is in, the format is quite perfect. So there's like, yeah,
especially for the worldwide distribution, I think it's you save some postage, I think.
Yes.
What I really find amazing is that one can order it from your shop in the internet. I put the link down below. Don't pay any postage. So how do you achieve that? Do you have some kind of cooperation with?
No, this is kind of confusion. Like people think it's free postage, but basically postage is included in price.
Okay.
So if you go to the comic shop and buy it there directly, the price is slightly cheaper. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any like this collaboration with distribution, and it's like a problem as shipping gets more expensive, and yeah, it gets more and more expensive. But yeah, if I have like this one in the shop would like cost 12 euros, but I think I offer it online maybe for 14 euros, but I pay myself for the shipping like 5 euros. But then again, the bookshop takes like almost 50%, so I don't get the full price. Yeah, so
Okay.
kind of like always a calculation how also try to keep the costs as low as possible. As yeah, I think the book should be available as wide and far, and it's kind of a calculation. Yeah. Because I don't like now, if I go to a web shop and then I buy like a book for 10 euros and then shipping costs plus 10 euros, then like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe I don't buy it. If it's like already 100 euros plus 10 euros shipping, of course, okay. So in our system, we include it in the price, but basically half of the shipping we pay ourselves and half you pay.
Yeah. It's still amazing, or that one guy in the US. I mean, we have to wait how this maybe change in the near future, but how still you can buy them in the US for 14 euros or in dollars. So, and postage to the US is usually crazy as for now and already. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, you strike me as one who is deeply concerned to connect not only artists, but to grow an understanding between people and nations and beliefs and whatever. And how do you cope with a world that, generally speaking, steers in the exact opposite direction into nationalism, egoism, into everybody for himself or herself? I mean, it's again a bit difficult question, and that leads far from the comics world. But I'm a bit interested because we live on the, or I live on the other side of the pond, of the Baltic Sea, in Flensburg, which is the most northern part of Germany. And and we have a big marine soldier base here. And now when I bike through the forest, there are always soldiers around playing hide and seek there. And we have air maneuvers above me and so on. And still we have lots of kilometers to the big, great Russia of Putin. But yeah, to make it short, have you thought of going back to Switzerland in the last months? Did you, or?
Well, in 2022, I guess, when the war started in Latvia, everybody packed their so-called 72-hour bag, where you have like some kind of bag with like some water and some food and like your passport and like just like the essential things. And like people were really concerned, and at this moment I was like thinking, yeah, like, well, what would I do? Like, yeah, how could I escape to Switzerland? And it's kind of also difficult as we're like cut off, like in like there between Belarus and Kaliningrad. There's only like a very short strip of land where you could like escape by land. So yeah, at the moment I don't think that I go to Switzerland, but I don't know if like what happens if the war starts now. I'm also in contact with a lot of Ukrainian artists, and I see their situation. Like about half of the ones I know, they live like spread all over Europe, and the other half like never left Ukraine or they went back. Yeah, it's a crazy situation now with what's going on also in like the USA, the election, and the German government crumbling. It's
and Europe not the better, because it would be really important to have some unified Europe, but we are far from unification than some decades ago. Yeah,
I try like maybe with escapism or something like this. Was the issue which was called The End, which came out like in the first days of the pandemic, but we planned it like before the pandemic. I don't know if I already had some visions that the world is gonna end, and I was like planning this issue about the end. And the more recent issue is this one, which is called Chaos. So often the issues are kind of inspired by political, or not only political, but also like climate change is quite scary at the moment. We had like issues connected to that, to the nature.
How did you survive the Corona times? I have to say I was afraid that you maybe Kush will fold under the pressure of the circumstances then, because on top of it you published the anthology The End, and the anthology after it was okay. I thought, hey, they continue publishing books, very fine, but it was called The Very End, and then I thought, okay, hey,
okay, this some people thought like, that's the last issue, or like, the very last issue, but it wasn't like really connected to that. Now COVID times, I don't know if I'm already nostalgic looking back at it. I think like, it was like horrible times, and like a lot of people died, but like personally it was kind of more relaxed at the time. Also, it was before the war. The war is kind of also more stressful now, like as a kind of in the back, like, but in COVID time also there was like good, like here at least, but I think also in Germany there was quite good support for artists. So here we also got like some kind of funding from the state to bridge like some and somehow was like there was nothing happening. I went like mushrooming all the time.
Have you spoken about everything that you think you would like to get across today?
I think we covered a lot of parts. I'm not sure about your listeners if they're into this kind of comics, but so this might be like kind of advertisement, or like telling them like they should like try to discover more, because in Latvia, like when we started, there were basically no comics. So our goal was to show like very, very different styles, and also comics like from all around the world, like, and different kinds of ways you can tell stories. And I think we did this like in the beginning, it was kind of like this educative mission from us to show the Latvians like what can be done with comics, but we never stopped this mission also when we became like international. So we still try to discover like new comic artists from really all around the globe, and like show like really different ways, like how to tell comics. And some might be very abstract, and people might be confused if it's still comics, and but then others are still like, it's like clear, like narrative stories, funny stories. But it's a real big mix, and yeah, I think if you're like more scared of alternative comics, maybe I just try and see, but like, yeah, pick up a Kush issue, like a random one, and maybe you find some new like favorite artist, or yeah, maybe you don't. But yeah, we kind of try to somehow also push the medium and like find the borders through different arts. But yeah, we don't want to alienate our readers also, like that's completely experimental and that you don't understand anything. But like, yeah, I think yeah, you should be open-minded, and if you don't understand like something, it's okay. I often like artists send me comics and I also don't understand them. This was almost the criterion that I liked it. Like, I
Yeah,
have no idea what it's about. That's something good, but it's, yeah. There's
yeah.
also like
Some of your favorite books, I still don't understand them. For an example, one
yeah,
of the
the
very
one you
first
showed,
ones,
like Sampler Man, it's really like
yeah,
meditative. It's
Assembler Man is just too much, yeah, of details and stuff.
and you
Uh,
got Muradov in your hands.
yeah, I to be honest, I've read this book here today again because I had a very good memory of it. I really liked it, but I did not understand not anything. But it's a love story somehow in the future, okay? But so far so good, and you have layouts, and he's so very special. You have very special artists who just try stuff that is just unheard of. Maybe it would be too much if you have really one thick novel by one artist with some experimentation, but over the span of 5 or 6 pages, it's wonderful to see these opportunities. And some artists really I want more of. Amanda Beza, for an example, a great artist.
Yeah, there could be good news for you soon.
Very good. Okay, yeah, I'm very curious, and thanks for your time. Was a pleasure to talk to you.
Very much
Mastermind.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the mini Kush readings. Okay, bye.
Bye. So, dann beende ich den Kram mal.